Hello my friends, I am High Prophet and Emir Zacata the Slime Cat King of House Felis, Harmonia and the Floristonite Faith. And today we will be talking about me, or rather my character. How perfectly humble for me to do so. Anyway, for simplicity's sake, I'll be referred to by myself in the third person. And a disclaimer, most of the lore for my character has been created in a role-playing thingy on Discord and not actually on the main StoneWorks server, so you can't just look in like public channels or something like that to find it. Wiki pages might be a good source, but anyway. Zacata Felis is a slime cat, an anthropomorphic cat made of slime that lives mainly in the city of Harmonia, currently a town in the Razuni Sultanate. They usually wear a black hoodie and shorts, perhaps even a skirt if they feel like wearing one, as well as a crown encrusted with a slightly magical gem. And here's a piece of cursed info. Being a slime cat, they have no private parts, as you would say, and don't consider clothes a necessity except for dignity because of such. So what clothes I have listed is only what they wear, or rather, quite literally all they wear. Anyway, Zacata was born 35 years before Eltam was discovered and partially colonized by Ratnir. To the elven scientist of sorts, Valna Curion, Zacata was not really treated well while they lived with her, often being ignored in favor of other experiments that she had created or was creating, which led them growing resentment for Valna, which grew into hatred. When Zacata was 12, they ran away from home. This was not the first time they had done so, and it wouldn't be the last. What was notable this time was in the cold mountainous region Zacata and their mother lived in a cottage, with a lap under it. While they were wandering around, Zacata came across someone, a desert Razuni girl around their age named Keturah, and she was not prepared for cold weather at all, wearing clothes more suited for a desert than mountainous terrain, which the Razuni Sultanate mainly kind of is desert. So, not knowing much, she would be reasonably in those clothing. Zacata took Keturah to a nearby cave and stole some of their mother's clothes to give to Keturah, staying with her until the weather calmed down enough for her to travel elsewhere. After many years, Zacata and Keturah would meet each other many times and would become friends, and then more. But I digress a fair bit. After many years, Zacata's mother would become involved with a cult, called the Cult of the Three Eyes, and the Zacata would also become involved with that cult. They would become a guard for the second elder, Doru Montenegro, as Valna became the third elder and had many other ender experiments to take care of her. Then Zacata would see the evil of the cult, previously seeing it as fairly good or something like that, I don't know, and then run away as they usually would. Zacata would go east through what is now the Razuni Sultanate until they reached the sea and sailed in a boat they made beyond that. During the night at sea they fell asleep, and in their dreams the mushroom goddess Hyatlia would contact them and guide them via the waves and nature to the mushroom island of Harmonia. On Harmonia, Zacata lived there, not being bothered by the poisonous spores that float around the air. The other residents being on the island were myconids, dryads that are mushroomy, and Harmonian humans that were gifted the immunity from those spores by Hyatlia. Anyone can be Harmonian of sorts if they have immunity to those spores, which is given if by either like experiencing those spores enough, or like perhaps divine gift or other magical gift. A notable resident of Harmonia other than Zacata was a dryad named Melena, whom led Harmonia until she willingly let Zacata take charge of the island. During their time on Harmonia, Zacata would join a totally real mercenary company called the Brenran Mercenary Company. Totally real. along with Katura. Zacata would go under the alias the Mushroom Cat, and Katura the Desert Snake. After many years, Zacata would realise, hey, I don't think being a merc is all that ethical, and would leave the mercenary company, leaving Katura behind as well. One of the last pre-Eldham colonization and creation law to add is that at one point Zacata acquired a soul and used it to make another slime cat, calling her Zacata. Zacata is not good with names in character. Don't ask me how I came up with it. I'll get a bajillion requests at ask maybe. Now this brings up to active Eldham lore, most of which still hasn't actually happened in game, just Discord, in which people were playing on Eldham, and it is not exclusively made up backstory. There is a large gap between pre-Eldham lore and an interesting Eldham lore related to Zacata, as I was quite inactive by then because of lack of motivation and a shit computer until a few weeks before that interesting part of Zacata lore on Eldham. The cult's background that Zacata had eventually bit them in the ass when they were captured by the same cult they were in before, along with their late friend Rizzy Whitlock and their sister Rin Blackwood. They all escaped the cultist base and later defeated what the cultists' whole purpose, a being known as Kree, the third elder, was redeemed, though it would take a long while before Zacata would see her as good. What I forgot to add into the script, and realised just after saying it, is that there was a fourth person in the same cell as the others. Faven Blackwood, sister of Malar Blackwood and Rin Blackwood. Malar Blackwood being the Sultan of Razumi Sultanate, and also it's not called the Blackwoods anymore. This is quite outdated. I hate myself. It's Colisiads. That's what they're called. I'm not going to spell it to you. Then the Eurysnian secession would happen, and thus Zacata would get back into merc work in law, rhymes, and kind of make up with Katura. Part of that mercenary work was to kidnap Rizzy Whitlock and take her to a location to be picked up by someone called Alma, all with the intention of getting the money without actually letting Alma have Rizzy. However, a rival group of mercenaries would intervene and deliver Rizzy to Alma themselves, almost killing Katura via a poisoned dagger in the process. Zacata would take Katura to the base of operations of the Brenwan Merc Company and get her healed up by a fellow mercenary and brought back to health, though unconscious for the time being. The morning after, Zacata discovered that Katura had went somewhere that they didn't know, and became quite worried because, why wouldn't you be worried when your former girlfriend that you had partially made up with is missing? Zacata would later find her, having been paralysed by a mushroom she ate, and would get her unparalysed with some alchemical stuff. At a much later date, Zacata, having lived a while with their soul being in a unique spot, which is the gem in their crown, grew a little insane, shown that by their willingness to kill a friend of Rizzy for money, and because they had a grudge on that person. And that got them put in a jail cell by some Rizzini Imperial guards and some other people. A few days later, their mother would do some sort of evil that I'm not going to explain because I can't be bothered. And they would be freed to help them. In the process of doing so, they would end up being killed by Valna, being a ghost until being revived by her as an elderly man, then back to a slime cat shortly after. That brings us close to present, and as you can see, almost all of this happened in Discord role-playing. And it's probably maybe fever dream status on what the theme is, because you have none of the context. Yes. Context makes sense, I'll say. To some other part of Zacata lore that isn't history, Zacata is the emir, aka mayor, of the mushroom island town of Harmonia, and is the unofficial but by far most legitimate ruler of whatever country claims to be Brennan, currently the Brennan Empire, and is the high prophet of the Floristonite faith, all explained, except for the second one, in my introduction. Their family members include the following. Their mother, Val Mercurion, who is currently, or was originally an elf. Context is going to fuck up what she is now. Their sister, half-ender dragon Rin Blackwood, Colisiat. Their brother, Ender Morphling, like a doppelganger from D&D, but more Ender and more IE. Like 20 eyes. Remond. And their wait, that's not the last one. Their girlfriend, human Zacata Felis, and daughter, now human but magically powered, Zacata Felis. Zacata's greatest friends on Discord, like partially out of war, are all but a few of the nobility of Razuni, and their most hated enemies are Indo, enemies of those they affiliate with, or I affiliate with, and Elena, for reasons I can kind of justify, but don't ask me about them or I'll get like a bajillion asked and we'll have to copy paste the reasonings. Anyway, that is all for today. This took a while of work to remember and then type out, and I'd appreciate a like, subscribe, and notification bell clicking or tapping to show that you've liked what I've done. If you aren't part of the StoneWorks server, be sure to join it in the link in the description below, and make sure to join Harmonia and the Razuni Sultanate. It might be its own nation if I work hard enough, Harmonia. Perhaps you can help with the renovation that is happening, which prevents people from actually living there, because there's not going to be any houses that will remain. And goodbye.